yesterday in the executive roundtable, we heard from KUKA, from Unchained, from Neura, and the German Robotics Association. And there we were talking about the customer needs today and tomorrow, AI-based robotics, and also robotics in Germany in particular. And now, with the expert roundtable, we want to take a deeper look into the field, if you like, and talk to the people who have been at the forefront or been hands-on part of technical aspects, also together with the customers. And we're here to talk about SRCI. And just before the break, Gunesh gave us the most perfect link, so there's not much more I need to say, so thank you, Gunesh. And what I'm going to do now is introduce our panelists, and then we're going to get going. So next to me, I have an energy electronics technician turned electrical engineer, specializing in automation technology and robotics. Manager of digital transformation at Stoibli, Günther Heinendirk. Welcome, Hello. Günther. Next to Günther, we have a robotics engineer with an industrial PhD and more than 20 years experience managing technical leadership processes. He is the technology officer of Cobot software, Universal Robots, Caspar Döring. Welcome, Caspar.
Thank you.
Next to Caspar, we have an industrial engineer with a master in business and marketing with broad leadership experience, including several years also at Siemens. He is the vice president at JACA Robotics Germany, Wolfgang Linke. Welcome, Wolfgang. And last, but definitely not least, with over 20 years experience in machine controls and robotics, he's an expert in the seamless integration of robot programming in PLC and HMI environments. From Yaskawa Europe, lead application engineer for PLC-controlled robots, Bertus de Groot. Welcome, Bertus. It's great to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. The first question is always easy. At least it's easy for me to ask. We've had this event going on now for, what is it, 1.5 days? I'd like to know what your highlights have been. You can choose who goes first.
Okay, I guess I will start. So there were a lot of very interesting technological topics, but personally I found very interesting the last one yesterday. I think his name was Mr. Schwarzkopf from VDMA, giving a bit insight on what's going on behind the scenes, on politics, lobbying. In the end, we need funding, right, for innovations. We're like getting behind compared to the rest of the world, maybe. So that one was found it very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Should we just then move this way?
Yeah, I would say the highlight was, from my point of view, the event itself, because let's say it's not a SSCI event. It's also not a PI Profinet event. It's really an event about robotics. So I think what I really was really impressed of is the variety of topics, from startup to politicians to well-known companies to startup in the robotic industry. So I think it's really an event for robotics.
Thank you. Congratulations to everyone involved. Thank you very much. Caspar.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I didn't really make up my mind yet of what I prefer the most. I think it's been a great event so far, and I've really enjoyed getting together with all of you. And maybe this will be my favorite event. Making some noise for something we have done and struggled with will be a big pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Just to say not much more than the name is Get Together, and this is the most beneficial situation to have all these nice people being together, speaking about the same thing, automation. And for me, it is, as you already said, the wide variety of topics we discussed, coming from universities over the political situations, and also when it comes really to how did you say that energy, when it starts to smell, it becomes very interesting.
It does. Okay, thank you. Right, now we're going to dig in to SRCI. And Günther, I think we can continue with you, because a big part of SRCI setups in the field, obviously, with Stoibli. So we'll start with you, and then whoever wants to come in afterwards, feel free. Now, all of you have released SRCI implementations. So maybe I'd like to know, what has the customer feedback been, or maybe the market feedback in general?
We received a lot of positive feedback about the implementation of SSCI. So it was a little bit surprising for me, because always when you introduce a new technique, you always see that you need a lot of training and you need to think about how things are meant. You can read a lot, but at the end, when it comes to programming something, then you need to understand things. And the feedback was really, it was simple, it was fast, it was easy, and as I said, it was a little bit surprising for me. The feedback we got concerning support was also very positive. The feedback given by Siemens, but also feedback given by us as our support channels. So yes, for us it was a really successful start.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would like to add, we of course introduced our interface a bit later than Stoibli. We're a bit later on the market. But we just, since a couple of months, had a first pilot customer with, in fact, quite a large production line with a couple of robots, all driven by SLCI, which is now in full production, making some exterior panels for buildings. So big production line. And Siemens was also involved in that, so they really went all the way with digital twin, the whole story. So it was this nice triangle of Siemens, our customer, and us as Yaskawa. And yeah, so far it went smooth. Of course, we did had a few iterations. We had to send out a few updates. So that's why you have a pilot project, right? But now running fine and positive.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would say I can confirm. Maybe from the application where cobots are used, it's not high-end application, it's not path planning, but we are really surprised. We have one OEM customer, he even came to our office with his PLC. The manager of the department said, okay, load the driver on. So then he went back, and then I called him, it is working. Yeah? So meaning, from my perspective, if you come from the PLC background, I was really surprised that there are no further questions. And what we also see, that we have smaller customers that need now some automation around the cobot application, for instance, for palletizers. Yeah, so they have to put some automation around. And they are also very positive and also very keen to use SSCI, because for them it's the most easiest implementation and the most easiest solution. So I would say integration into PLC, where customers have PLC experience, plus integrators that use PLC on an occasional basis and want to combine with a robot is a perfect match, and really no questions. Normally you get questions, but in this case we didn't get any questions.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's been barely a month since we released our interpreter, and we did issue a number of trial licenses, and we have even sold some. So that's a feedback in itself. You know, hiding in the dungeons of R&D, I'm not in the front line. But I did have a couple of conversations with potential customers about additional functionality that they would like to see. So things like activating free drive and relative motions and auto manual switching and things like that.
Okay. So it's great to hear that the feedback has been generally positive. Sure. And I mean, the more feedback you get, the better. But obviously there is skepticism out there as well. Now, I'd be interested to know which of you have been receiving any skeptic feedback, and if yes, where is this actually coming from? What are the challenges for the customers? So again, this is for everyone. So,
in relation to missing features, I don't see it really as skepticism. I see it as a healthy interest of what we have been doing
for us.
So we have not been met with skepticism, I would say.
Okay. How about the others?
Yeah, I do see some skepticism, and that's especially machine builders. We have a lot of them here in Germany. And let's say they do 80% of their machines with Siemens and let's say whatever brand of robots. And maybe 20% is export to the North American market. And there you often see that they do want to use Rockwell PLC. So that's why I keep asking PLC vendors join. It's really necessary, because that could could hold that machine builder from really getting started with this, right? So that's part of the skepticism, and of course features. Things like conveyor tracking are essential for certain customers, not for all. So that's homework for us. Feedback we need to prioritize developments, and which we're doing right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the most important feedback is that the customers are a little bit, or they fear they are maybe caught in the middle between the PLC manufacturer and the robot manufacturer when it comes to problems. And from my point of view, this is a real fear, or let's say a real point we need to address, and we really need to convince customers that we are working on that. And we spent in the last years a lot of time to define our communication interfaces to Siemens. And today, I think we know on each support level, we know each other. We know not only just the phone number or mail address where you can call, but we also know the people behind. And this is some work you have to do for sure. And now, from my point of view, it is the opposite. It's not a danger anymore. It's really a feature, because now if you call Siemens or Stobli, or I think it's the same for you also, then you know that you have the experts of PLC programming and the experts of robotic working on your issue. Yeah. So I would say it's the opposite of a negative thing. It's now the positive thing.
Yeah, I would also say, I would not call it that customers are skeptical, but they want to be confident. Yeah, and what we see in our environment, and we are more, let's say, also handling smaller integrators, so they want to be confident that it works. Yeah, and therefore, we set up application in our office. Yeah, so with a small PLC, with a linear access, with some safety devices around. Yeah, and then we train the customer. We have an integrator training. Then on the third day, we train the customers to say, this is how you have to do it. Here is the program. And if you have any questions to the program, you let us know. Yeah, so what we see, if this confidence is there and they try it out by themselves and it's working, so then there is no more skepticism. But you have to really train the technology, and you cannot leave it just to say download from the webpage and then be happy.
So it's kind of a small workshop, a couple of hours.
It's a small workshop, so we document it, and then they can take also this example project home. Yeah, and then if they come into a situation where to use maybe external PLC, let's say, or to use SSAI, they already have an example. And then they can use this project and they can modify it. But I think something pre-made in our case, for smaller customers is necessary from application point of view.
I think to convince customers, we also need to more address this, let's call it success stories. We all have customers using it, and we should more communicate about that.
And at the end of the day, customers are different, and some get this, and some need this, and some don't. So, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Günther, particularly for Stobli, I think there's skepticism regarding performance sometimes from the market, and I believe this is strongly related with the applicability of SRCI with the SCARA robots. So is there anything you could share with us about that?
First of all, I hope it's not just because of Stobli. I think it is everyone. I think you
it's
also
the fast robots, right? The very fast cars.
But I think this SSCI working group, we spent a lot of time to develop the protocol with a high focus on performance. And so when you speak about pushing motion instructions to the robot, there's no waiting time for you, so you don't need to wait until the robot is reaching its position. So you just push a bunch of move instructions to the system, and so there is absolutely no waiting time. And even when the robot reaches its target, there is, or you can work, or you can program it in the PLC to have no delay because of the implementation of SSCI you see in the PLC at every time where the robot is on the path. So you can
anticipate.
Anticipate, thank you very much here. For sure there is a time delay, and this is the time delay when you start motion, when you push the motion from the PLC to the robot until the robot really starts its motion. But I think everyone who integrates a robot, or most of them, will also use a PLC. So that's for sure that there is a delay, but we all know that. And so it's not something what you have only with SSCI.
Yeah. So that's right. Motions can be buffered, and that means it's only that very first motion after a standstill, and that, let's say, delay or latency. That's what has our focus. I think we can improve a bit more. Of course, a part is on the library, the client side. A part is on the robot side, interpreter side. We will definitely keep our focus on that. Because we know it's important for customers. It doesn't make sense if you have a beautiful interface and a lot of marketing around it, but at the end of the day, the output is less than with a conventional program.
Yeah.
That's
maybe staying with the two of you, so Yaskawa and Stoibli. I think, because I want to talk about motivation of now implementing SRCI. And I think both of you already had something or have something existing already. So what was your motivation behind implementing it? And where you are now, does it actually, is it where you want to be?
Yeah, so we had already, I think since 2015, a proprietary interface called MotorLogix. We have quite a lot of customers, they're happy with it. So then the question came, let's say 2018, when we started this initiative, why do we need another interface? But the thing is, this is a standard. And so our vision is that in the end, this will only make the market larger. Yes, we're easier expendable. We can easily be swapped for, let's say, a Stoibli or a UR or a Fanuc, whatever robot. But in the end, this is what the customers want, right? They don't like vendor lock-ins, and that's what you got with proprietary interfaces. So we saw that as a must. We must do this, and it will also lead in the end, if there's enough participants on the robot side, on the PLC vendor side, you will get a very large market acceptance. So whether it's a customer, let's say, somewhere in Asia or maybe in the US, they know, okay, it's SSCI, it fits.
Okay, we'll be coming to Asia in just a second with Wolfgang. But first, Günther, do you agree with what Bert said?
Yeah, fully agree on that. Our own PLC programming application or software is Unival PLC. We have it since years. It's available for several different PLC platforms. And we made all this on our own, so it's not just writing the software for our robot controller, but we also need to. We are responsible for the software written on the PLC side, and if you do it for a lot of different PLC brands, it is a lot of work to do.
That's right.
And therefore, it was not so clear for us in the beginning if you should participate or not, because put all your work done in the waste, more or less. But as I fully agree to what you said, Bertus, it's for the customer, it is really important to have a protocol where he can rely on, which is made from or available for different robots, and hopefully in the future for different PLC platforms also. Yes, we had the how to say it, we had to work a lot internally, especially on the sales guys, saying, hey guys, it's if you think that it is a danger that your competitor is able to switch or to dig into your customer, and if it is just because of the programming language, then we have bigger problems than that.
Yeah, that's it.
So forget this problem. Huh?
Yeah.
Now, coming to Asia, Wolfgang, and specifically China.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear your opinion on the Chinese market. Does this, what we've just discussed, actually apply to China as well? And what's the perception of the Chinese customer? And does it differ from customers elsewhere?
I would say yesterday we heard that unfortunately China is the biggest market for robotic, and more robots are sold in China than in the rest of the world together. I think we saw it yesterday by VDMA. So this means that the robot installation in China is on a tremendously high level. And the second thing is that the robots are sold also, I would call it in general industry, our robots, so it's not so much the differentiation to say it's a cobot, it's an industrial robot, call it a lightweight robot with less, I would say, safety requirements. So, and when we look at our customers, and I was really, how to say, a little bit shocked. I was 3 weeks ago on the automotive show in Hanover, and one of our customer, end user, he is producing the tail the tail lift for the cars, yeah, so for the trucks. So he only came to the show to show his new production without any products. And he showed a completely digital 4.0 production, including MES, PLC on the bottom, and then robots working, controlled by the PLC. I would say in total, at least 15 robots, half of them collaborative, so from us, the other from other brands. Yeah, and these customers, they want to have integration into 4.0, which I think SSCI can contribute because the data is then available in the PLC. And of course, these customers, they like to do standardization. Yeah, and my wish would be that in Germany or maybe in Europe, we have the same spirit to say, now, let's do the same. Really, let's go into complete new designs. Yeah, really make it, from the shop floor level up to the MES level or the 4.0 level. Let's make it, a unified vertical integration. And there, I think the SSCI can give a big contribution. This is what we see in China. So I'm very convinced that this one will really will be a big market in China, especially on the demand from the end user side.
Okay. Coming back to Europe now, Caspar, I want to talk about accessibility of robots. Now, when Universal Robots entered the market, back then it was all about, easy to use cobots. Now, some people would say, well, hang on, your offering was already easy to use. So again, why did you even bother with SRCI?
It's very true that ease of use is one of our foundational values. So I will remind you that I'm very biased when I answer this question. I trouble a little bit with the term ease of use, so I would like to rewind a little bit. I think the software that we're providing called Polyscope is a testament to how far we have gone on ease of use, and soon there will be Polyscope X, which will step this up. And I might risk provoking some of you now, but I do it in a good spirit. I find it difficult to argue that moving to the tier portal will make the programming easier, in the common sense of the word.
So we have something for Jens to talk about later then. So yeah? There he is, yeah.
You're under control now.
It's a struggle with the terms. I think, in my mind, it's about unification. And if you are a big system integrator and you're doing advanced stuff, then you will really appreciate the integration. And you have 200,000 users working with the tier portal, and they love the tier portal, and I'm sure they would love to use the tier portal also for integrating robots. So in that way, it's a different kind of ease of use. And so are we afraid of commoditization? Yeah, I'm sure we are, but I don't see SRCI as a big threat when it comes to that. I think that this will make our piece of the pie bigger because there's a lot of people in this ecosystem already. And that is, of course, why we're in this.
Okay.
Yeah, I can confirm in a way because I believe that the cake will be bigger in the future because it's easier to integrate. Yeah, so if it takes you or an integrator 2, 3, 4 weeks to do the integration, then of course he can do less projects and it will be more expensive for the customer. But if it's easy integration, then they sell more and also more applications will be in the market. So my belief is that the cake will be bigger and not smaller. So everybody can participate.
Yeah.
Bertus, similar type of question for you. So the main portfolio of Yaskawa is, of course, industrial robots, but you do make the odd cobot now as well. So, why SRCI for you then as well?
Yeah, well, for us it was logical to step in SSCI as mentioned before, and for us we don't differentiate between let's say the normal industrial robots and cobots. They're just another type of robots in our portfolio, and it was perfectly clear that these will be supported as well. We do it step by step. So we started with GP series, which is like for general purpose, a wide range of robots. And we're adding more. So we're adding palletizers at the moment. And the HC, so the human collaborative, will follow next. So we don't want to discriminate there. All of our robots should be able to work with SLCI. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 axes.
Yeah. Okay. I want to make a slight cut here. And this is also something that Gunesh talked about before the break. Now, in order for all of us to really benefit from the PLC manufacturers taking care of their bit, so to say, they obviously need to support SRCI. And currently the only one who does that is Siemens, as we heard. So that means that SRCI is currently only available via Profinet, making the whole thing Siemens exclusive, if you like. And I'd like to get your take. So this is for all of you again on how do you feel about that, and where do we need to go?
I think when you look for, or when you imagine you put a lot of robot manufacturers in one room, and you're speaking about a standard that it was fun to work on that, and it is still fun, and it was a huge workload, and we spent a lot of time on that and doing that. So for me, it makes no sense to do the same thing again, because what do we want to do more than having a standard?
Yeah.
So let's imagine orientation question. Which orientation is the best one? We discussed it a bit.
There was a lot of fighting.
Yeah. So for me, it is absolutely important to understand that SSCI is not Siemens. SSCI, the S is not standing for Siemens, it is standing for standard.
Yeah.
And therefore the protocol is field bus agnostic. It means we just define a bit of arrays and use whatever field bus you want. From my point of view, you even can use TCP/IP, it should work.
Yeah.
So, and as Gunesh told us before lunchtime, it must be not only a PLC, it can be everything what you want. You just want to establish a communication to an industrial robot. Yeah. And therefore, I would just repeat what you said. PLC brand suppliers, please join us. Come on.
Yeah, to give some insight on how that is then integrated in this spec or implemented in this spec. We definitely didn't want to have it exclusively for Profinet. That was very clear from the beginning. But they put a lot of clever mechanisms in this protocol, because you might know that there's so many different vendors, PLC vendors, robot vendors. Not everyone supports the same size of data packet on the field bus, but you also don't want to limit the others to, let's say, the minimum size. So he cannot use what would be available. So there's very clever mechanisms. So the type of field bus doesn't matter. It's just a byte array, and the size doesn't matter. And I would say that makes it perfectly suitable for any kind of robot vendor, any kind of field bus, and definitely any kind of PLC vendor.
Okay.
We expect that more PLC vendors will follow, and the openness of this standard was a decision criteria when we got on board with this. So we'll have to see about that, but in theory, everything should work. In practice, I think we would like to test it a little bit. So for universal robots, it's definitely game on, and if there are anybody who wants to play, then reach out.
This is also our hope, because we are not such a big company at the moment. And if you want to implement SSCI, you also have to put your core resources into the development. So it's not to just get one developer from the street and just do it. You really need the core know-how of your motion. And we hope that this effort we only do one time and we don't do 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So our hope is really that we standardize the protocol. I fully agree. Let's say the bus system can be different. Yeah? But the software and the communication protocol should be the same, and then the faster the bus system, the more whatever you can go into real-time application. But the commands itself, our wish would be that don't make another protocol with a more or less same content, and
Yeah, but that's
another way of
that's the good
program.
thing. I mean, there's probably a lot of hesitation also at PLC vendors. They still feel it's kind of a Siemens story. Well, we now know it isn't. But they might also be watching, okay, how is it evolving? Should we really step into this? But the thing is, there is no other standard, right? So you might think, okay, this is not perfect. Maybe it isn't perfect. I think we have done our best very well, and it is a good interface. But there is no plan B, there is no other interface. So it's not a matter of choosing, okay, for the old people, VHS video, or what was it, Betamax? Sorry, that's only for old people like me. Yeah, this is the standard. And of course, we need to get that market acceptance. We need to get more applications in the field and success stories, but that's a matter of time.
I think also for the PLC programmers, I think they might not be willing to learn another language and another language and another language. Yeah? So I would say we also communicate in English because we decided that this is a language we can communicate. Yeah? So now if you would invent another 5 languages, for each person it will be quite difficult. So this is really what we see, that if we implement the standard in a way of protocol, and more people are using this, then it's easier for everybody. Yeah? And then how the bus system is configured and how it is on the PLC side, then this is up to the individual vendor.
We should not forget, when you implement a robot or when you connect a robot to a PLC today, you always have to have these nice discussions between robot programmer, PLC programmer, which bit means what, and then you have some discussions, and you need to make some bit comparison and so on, and maybe we need to switch it between Mitsubishi and what is the other proto and Siemens, high bit first, low bit first, and so on and so on, and everything is done, and let's think about the knowledge transfer you have to do. It's not just because between PLC robot manufacturer and your machine builder, but it's also inside of the machine builder and his communication to the end user. And when it comes to a production line and you have a problem in the night shift, you all know what that means. And if you just think about, you have only one, how to say that, common understanding on how it should work and what is the naming, what are the rules, then it is simplifying so lot, and therefore, from my point of view, yes, it's good to have it.
And 2 points to mention, SRCI also has a certain safety regulation or safety application, so that it's clear how to connect, let's say, the safety IOs to the PLC, and also what is the mechanism. Also a mechanism, when is the robot control active, when is the PLC active. So this is also, it might be a small thing, but in the end, if it comes to application, for the PLC programmer, if this is already predefined and he can rely that if the PLC is working, the robot control is not working, this is also what I see is a big benefit. It's because sometimes then you have some, how to say, effects that you cannot explain exactly. Let's say if you do it the hard way, if you program between PLC and robot by yourself, because you don't take this into account.
Yeah, single point of control is very important with such interfaces, but that's covered.
Yeah, things take time, so I think what we've done is definitely relevant from a feature and performance and quality point of view. So now we have to, let time do what time does, and
giving you gray hair, right?
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. So basically, then to summarize, we're saying PLC vendors, get on with it.
That's it.
Get active.
Perfect.
Yeah? So let's assume that they've listened to you, and they're all going to get active. They're all going to get involved. That would mean then more manufacturers, more field buses, more combinations of robots and PLCs, and ultimately more complexity, right? So can we really expect customers to be willing to say, oh, yeah, it's more complex, that's fine, we can deal with that? I mean, that's got to be an issue, right?
Yeah, I think not. First of all, it is a standard, so it should work the same on every platform. There's quality mechanisms designed by the working group. And besides that, we see it with Siemens, the first PLC vendor. It's not that they just offer a library; they offer also an application. So they got the SRL library, SRI integrator, I think is the name. And that's the thing which is like a ready solution, right? So any customer just buys that solution and it just works. Of course, if they want to make more complex applications, they have to put in some more of their own brains. But it means for many applications, they have a solution which just works. So I think that already removes a lot of complexity. It would be different if you would just say, okay, we have a library up to 150 or I don't know how many function blocks. Here you have it. Have fun. Then you start getting people programming with all good intentions, but one in that direction, one in that direction, and then you get the phone calls. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. We had that with MotoLogix in the beginning. So I think it's important and also a challenge for PLC vendors to step in that, not just create a library, but think about applications and charge money for it, right? I mean, if a customer saves, let's say, 3 weeks or maybe 3 months of programming, you probably can charge some money for that product.
I think it is important to distinguish between where is the complexity. And if you have a lot of different players on the market working with SSCI, the complexity is by us, by the PLC manufacturers, because we have to be sure, we have to test all the different combinations. So maybe the complexity is by us, but we have a lot of test cases, automatic test cases. So if it is working for the first one, it's easy for the second and for the third and so on and so on. For the machine builder and for the end customer, it is, from my point of view, not an increasing complexity, but it is decreasing complexity because they have to deal just with one protocol, with one implementation. So they should not, and I'm absolutely sure they will not care. It's reducing the complexity for them, and therefore, it's also the feedback we got. They are waiting for this.
I agree mainly to what you say. We love to see all the PLC manufacturers getting into this. In the even earlier points of the automation journey, you will have a larger choice of options. Should I go with this PLC or that PLC and this robot? So, the combinatorial explosion is easy to see, and I think maybe the complexity increases in that area, but I don't really see it during commissioning. So,
okay. I would also emphasize what just said on the application. Yeah? So if an application is written with SSCI and is working, I think you can rely on this application that if you copy it and modify it a little bit, it will still work. Yeah? And the more applications are on the market, I think more people will have confidence, and then the complexity will go down very fast. Yeah? The thing is, as you said, if you have to deal with uncertainties, and then you have to try it out by yourself, and you don't have some kind of a guideline, of a structure, and then the complexity is increasing. But I think in the beginning, it's important for the customer using SSCI, give them examples, give them good training, and give them a direction. Yeah? And then, from my point of view, the complexity will be reduced compared to what is on the market today with all these various combinations of PLC robots and whatever.
Yeah, automation is a craft. And I don't know about all robots, but I can say that there are also ways to get in trouble without SRCI. So, yeah,
that's right.
Okay, so what we really need the manufacturers to do then is test their stuff, test it, and just make sure it works and it's integratable seamlessly, yeah? And that would be a big step in the right direction.
But it's important to remember that this is really considered by the working group, right? Because we see also SLCI as a brand. We need to keep that quality on a high level, because you can only lose confidence of a customer once, right? And they will say, okay, this is not working for us. So that's where there were all these automated tests. And that's why it took quite a bit of time to get from a limited release to broad release. It seemed like, okay, we just need to do a few little tweaks. Then it's hundreds and hundreds of test cases. But that, in the end, improves the quality, and that's important.
Perfect. easy question again now. Wolfgang, and maybe also for Caspar. So obviously there's a lot of things in place for SRCI. Some of them have been implemented already. Many others are in implementation. Where do you see the future, the short-term future of SRCI? So let's say in the next 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah, Caspar, you can go first.
Yeah, this has been a big effort, and I'm not sure what's around the next corner. So our customers is just starting to pick this up, and that will be our real learning opportunity to see what we need. But I should be surprised if we do not get more feature requests. The standard is huge, and we've just implemented, I don't know, not even a quarter of everything which is in that standard. So there's plenty of things that we can add. And I would guess in the short-term future, we do some of that.
Okay. Wolfgang, would you agree with Caspar?
Yeah, and I would go a little bit further. In Jaka, in China, we have our own system integration department because Jaka was founded out of University of Shanghai and system integration. And of course, we use our system integration business to try out new things. Yeah, and also in most of the cases, when we acquire a bigger customer, they expect us to do the whole application. So definitely one step will be that we use SSCI in our own system integration department. Then, of course, we get more feedback from the market, and then also from this we can drive the standard. So this is, I would say, for our China business, what we definitely will do. And then what I see, especially for Europe, that we will now go into more complex application with our integrators. Yeah, so if we get a request for what we have seen, AI, so currently we cannot do it. But with integration of POC and SSCI, we can do it, because there is a broader application portfolio. So meaning that for us also the level of application, and I was talking about our integrators, what they can do is increasing because they don't have to take care about the programming of the robot, they can take care of the application itself. And this is where I see a big advantage, that we go more into advanced application. Motion control is another point. So our controller cannot control a 7-axis. So, but with a POC, a small POC, you can do a linear axis. So also then for our integrators, it's an easy opportunity to integrate, let's say, automation equipment around. So they also then have more possibilities, small assembly, whatever comes after the robot. And this is also where we now will define use cases and where we then help our integrators to do the implementation.
Okay. And if we look a little bit further now, so Günther and Bertus, let's say in the next 5 years, I'd be interested to know, do your views, or do you share the views of Caspar and Wolfgang, or would it look slightly different if we look further ahead?
Yeah, so for the short term, sorry, just grabbed a moment. So for the short term, it's about adding features, as the others said. Let's say 5 years from now, I do expect that there will be many PLC vendors who have implemented this, and we will see that market acceptance. And not only in Germany or maybe Europe, but globally. We see that this is not a topic which stays in Europe. And that's the vision we have, the hope, of course, also. But I think in 5 years that should be doable.
Yeah, I think I would like to see much more features. You already announced that. I think our job is to implement conveyor tracking as next, and then the external access support should be definitely on the roadmap. Yes, the number of supporters, not only on the manipulator side, but also on the PSC side, is really welcomed. And we already mentioned it a bit, but from my point of view, we really need now to address the customers. We really need to say it, to convince them, try it. It is worth to do it. So it's not you are not the first one anymore. There are others more risky than you. So it is working, and just try it. And for me, it's really I'm really sure that it will work. And as long as we are trying to convince our customers using it, then it will be a success.
I think that you're all aligned, aren't you? As I said, get on with it, do something now, and together, it can and will become a standard eventually if we all join in together. So yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that great discussion. That concludes the official part. So how about a round of applause for each of our 4 panelists? Thank you so much. And now for the unofficial part, so to say, we'd like to open up for some questions. We still have a bit of time left, so feel free to raise your hands and we'll see how many we can get through. They're all so shy today, aren't they? Wow.
Everything was
Yes, here at the front. Thank you. Everything was discussed, is it? Yeah, there's nothing more to add.
Yeah, thanks for the insights and also for the efforts. I would be interested what you think does SRCI mean for robot manufacturers that are not as open as Universal Robots, for example, that have a business, and I guess a strong business, in selling the knowledge of how to use the robot system. Because now that knowledge shifts towards the SPS or PLC. So for some application, you might not need to sell that anymore. Does it have an implication?
Yeah, I guess our academy is maybe not so happy with this development, but to make it clear, let's say in 5 or 10 years, it's not that every system will be run by SRCI. There will still be plenty of applications where SRCI is not the best solutions, right? So if I look from our market point of view, we do a lot of welding, arc welding, and I don't see this interface really being an improvement there or making things easier. So so there will still be enough work for our academy and training new customers. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, I also would confirm. I think it opens the room for more application. I think welding will not be replaced. I'm absolutely sure. But as I said, for instance, all this possibility PLC has vertical integration, so that customers really can also collect values through the PLC from the robot. That you have this 3D vision system, artificial intelligence. So I don't think, as a robot manufacturer, that this is our core know-how. So our core know-how is manipulator, is to make a good and stable and reliable robot, with some features, of course. But if it really comes to the area where also a lot of software investment is needed, I think the big PLC vendors have more capability and also more features in the future or today in this area. And this opens up, from my point of view, new markets.
Thanks for honesty.
Even though Universal Robots is an open platform for people to integrate, I can tell you that we had some discussions internally of whether to venture down this road also. So this is yet another interface, and I think being an open standard made that decision easy.
Okay, thank you. Do we have... Yes, here at the front, thank you.
Thank you for the discussion. I want to ask, how do you decide to add new functions to SRCI? Assume that Stabli has a very nice function in its robots and their customers want to see it in SRCI, but it doesn't exist in Yaskawa. How do you solve such kind of conflicts?
It's quite easy. It is common sense that SRCI is doing only things in the core implementation which can be supported by everyone. So first of all, if we have some fancy instructions, I'm quite sure we all have some fancy instructions, but they are not compatible. So either we are able to make it compatible, to have, let's say, a layer over it, which makes it usable for everyone, or it is not in the core. That's easy.
Wow.
And keep in mind that even though there's a core part of the standard which we all share, there are still differences or variances in that. And if you move towards the extended parts of the standard, it's even more so. But there is a big tool on the PI website where you can go and see and compare who has what functionality.
Yeah. So basically, at the moment, if you check the list of functions, it's huge. So I would say there, of course, there might always be missing some things for certain applications. But in the specifications, everything is there. Let's put it that way. Then we got the client library. There it needs to be implemented. They usually will implement everything. And then you have the robot side, so the interpreter. And that's where I will consider it the hard work has to be done, because every robot vendor needs to find out, okay, yes, we have this kind of function. We need to make it compatible with SLCI. And that takes time. So I think all of us are now supporting core, but you heard it, conveyor tracking is very important, and there will be many more functions. So that needs to be implemented mainly by the robot manufacturers.
So does it mean all the functions in SRCI is not supported by all vendors at the moment? So some functions...
Yes.
There is a deviation. It's really important to understand that there is a core, and this core must be supported by everyone.
It's the minimum.
Yeah.
This is the minimum, exactly. And then you can add some features which are not in the core because several reasons, because it is not supported by someone of us or something like that.
Yeah. And it's a matter of prioritizing by the robot vendor. And this vendor map, so on the website, it has this table where you can also compare. So you're looking for a certain function. You want to know if it's available at Stoibly and at UR. You can compare. And that's, of course, if you see it's missing at, let's say, Yaskawa, you can contact Yaskawa saying, what's going on? I would like to use Yaskawa, but this function is important for us, so can you please implement? And of course, that will take more than just a few weeks.
I know his number.
No. But it's important to get that feedback from customers in order to prioritize this development.
Clear, thank you.
Do we have any more? Yes, at the back there.
So if you implement these additional features, is it in a standardized way, or does everybody does his or her own dialect of the standard?
From the programmer side, it will look the same. So that gap between what's in the standard and how things work at our end or at your end of the system, we need to figure out how to bridge that.
So that's on our side, but for the user, it's standardized, right? So there is no dialects allowed there. Yeah. You can always have situations where, let's say, a certain robot vendor has such a special feature and it's just not covered by SLCI. And then there is this kind of plan B, the workaround, where you could do it via traditional or conventional programming, and then there is a SLCI function called call subjob, if I'm not mistaken, which allows you to call that conventional job and still do that magic thing on robot, vendor, whatever.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? Beatrice, we were talking before about universities and startups. Maybe you'd just like to elaborate a bit more, and if you want to come in, feel free. So what is the role of SRCI, particularly for universities and startups or scale-ups, as we've been calling them as well?
Yeah, I think there's opportunity in creating applications, right? So if you have this standard, it means you're not developing something for just a few customers, though there's a huge market, right? And if you see opportunity because you have a fancy idea about a certain application or for a certain sector in the market, step in and do it and charge money for it, of course.
I heard a lot yesterday and today about platforms, and now I hope we get rid of different protocols between different robot suppliers, and be sure I don't want to dig in different platforms to replace that problem. And for me, SRCI could be one good solution to have a common interface and everyone can do his platform. And instead of developing interfaces for every platform, we can develop against SRCI. So,
And we talked about applications, but you can even think on the other side, right? Making simulators. I know Siemens already has such a product to make it easy for customers to try out. But there could be innovative startups thinking, okay, let us make such a thing. So I think lots of chances.
Yeah. Last chance before we head into the break. Any final questions? Doesn't seem to be the case. Well then, if that hasn't convinced you to get on with it, I don't know what else will. Thank you so much, Bertus, Wolfgang, Caspar, and Günther. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Another round of applause for our excellent panel. Thank you. And I'm sure there'll be more opportunities to continue the talks in our break. So see you again shortly. Thank you.